The heinous one, the heinous gospel, where it describes Jesus and his mother in horrible ways, is in these codices.
Yes, but you have also in the Quran non-canonical things like. Is
Show me.
that right?
Show me.
Non-canon. Do you want to show you many stories that are known fabrication, non-canonical stuff, all this kind of stuff?
Habibi. Based on everything you've just said up to this point, you don't know what the heck you're talking about,
Okay,
and
so
that's
you want
okay.
to talk about that? I can give you the non-canonical stuff in the Quran that proves it's not from. It's the Quran borrows stories from everywhere. Like for example, let's start with the Alexander the Great, who says that. Okay, the story of
Where does the Quran mention him?
the, from Alexander's what was the name? Okay, let me
Yeah.
Google that.
Look, bro, you're not even ready,
Alexander
man.
Romans. So the Quran takes stories from Alexander Romans. That is a non-canonical. In fact, it's not even scripture. It's stories about Alexander, and these stories that are fabricated end up in the Quran.
What's fabricated? What stories are fabricated?
Alexander
Again,
Roman.
Alexander's not mentioned in the. Are you talking about Dul Qarnayn?
Yes, and
The,
the Gog and
the
Magog.
Quran, the Quran doesn't teach he's Alexander the Great. This is just an
Yes.
interpretation from other sources, from some scholars. They give an interpretation, but we don't know concrete evidence.
Okay. So yes, but you know how we know that the Quran is actually mentioning these stories, because if you read the Alexander Romans stories, it gives it gives the same story. So some tribe they met some tribe and they had a big wall and all these kind of
Okay.
things that you find in the
Let me
Quran.
ask you this. Let
Yes.
me ask you this question, okay? Because this is very simple. This is gonna throw this entire thing in the trash that you're talking
Okay,
about.
let's see.
In Arabia at this time, during the time of the Prophet's ministry, okay, you had all these tribes that were involved with the Prophet. They're seeing what he's doing, they're seeing what he's teaching, and they don't like it because it's so unique and different, and it goes against what they believe, and it goes against a lot of what they believed and what was ordained for them or what their prescriptions are. Okay, my question to you is: do we have any report, any citation, any reference of anyone at all? I mean, anybody at all, anyone, any Arab at this time where they caught the prophet or found the prophet using any other source except the angel, the angelic encounters, right? And getting up these, making up these stories or getting this information
Yes,
or
and
pulling
it's
from
only
it.
the Quran,
Okay.
and it's even on the Quran says that he did. They
So
were accusing
there
him.
is
Wait just
reports.
a moment.
There is reports.
So okay, so in the Quran it says that it accusing Muhammad that he's repeating stories of the old. Isn't that right? Let's go to the Quranic verse.
No.
Quranic verse.
No, it doesn't say that. What are you
Stories
talking about?
of
You're
the
just
old.
Googling everything, man. Google warrior.
Yes, that doesn't say anything what you are saying now. Okay,
Well, you
so
don't know what you're talking
you
about.
made a claim, and even the Quran gives
I didn't make a
reference
claim. I
that
asked a question.
this was the accusation against Muhammad. So let me
I
give
didn't
you
make
now
a
the Quranic
claim. I
verse.
asked you a question, dude. You make
Yes.
the claim. I didn't make a claim.
Okay, so now I'm responding to your question. So the Quran frequently, uh, all over the place,
Yes or no?
people are accusing Muhammad that
Yeah, Habibi.
he's just repeating stories of the old.
Ya
Do
Galbi,
you
ya Habibi.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yes or no? It's either we have reports or we don't. Do we
yes,
or not?
even the Quran says that you have. You
Okay.
don't believe in the Quran?
Who? Okay, no. I'm asking you for individuals, either related or unrelated to the Prophet, not the Prophet himself, where they're claiming the Prophet is using some other source
Quranic
to make the
verses.
Quran.
Yes,
Okay?
even in the Quran
You
says
should be
that.
able to find me a source. Look it up.
Yes, I will give you now. Quranic verses that
Dude, he's gonna make me like run my head into a wall.
accuse
These Christians, bro.
Muhammad.
Are you Christian, Socrates?
No,
Or no?
no, I'm an atheist.
Yeah, Habibi. Oh, wait, no, yeah, we talked before, yes. You're like an atheist, yes? Agnostic atheist? Something like that?
No, I'm an atheist, not agnostic. Atheist, yes, I cannot pronounce that. Although it's a Greek word, I cannot pronounce it. Because in Greek we call it atheos. In English it's more like atheist. I cannot. Okay, so
I'm gonna
okay,
make a prediction. Okay. 25, 4 and 5. Quran chapter 25, yes?
no, Quran 6:25. Maybe let me see all the yes, point 0.5. Okay, yes, what you said now is it's in this verse. Okay, so Quran 6:25. When they come to you, they argue with you and they say, "This is nothing but legends of the former people of the old." Quran 8:31. When our verses are recited to them, they say, "We have heard
Do you see
it
this
with
Jew in the
reason."
side chat?
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing but legends of the former of the old. So there are like 8 verses that says the same thing, that there were accusations against Muhammad, that he's just repeating stories of the old. Okay, so that
No.
answers your question. Okay.
No, no, read the context. Go to verse 3 and read it. Oh my gosh, this is really bad. You're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna shed a tear. This is not good. Literally read the verse 3. This is not him. This is not Allah saying this about him or him saying about himself. It's people coming up to him and claiming this because they
Yes.
disbelieve.
Yes.
They don't
Okay.
believe in this.
But your question is, give me some evidence that you said that this cannot be true, because no one accused Muhammad that he was doing that. And now I gave you evidence that in fact
No,
people were.
no, not accusation. No, no. I'm saying, is there a report where people are saying he did? Because that's you're saying that these stories do come from other sources. I'm not saying accuse, because accusations could be false.
Not too long ago.
Okay.
Things that you find in the
Let me
Quran.
ask you this. Let
Yes.
me ask you this question. Okay? Because this is very simple. This is gonna throw this entire thing in the trash that you're talking
Okay,
about.
let's see.
Okay? My question to you is, do we have any report, any citation, any reference of anyone at all? I mean anybody at all. Anyone, any Arab at this time where they caught the prophet or found the prophet using any other source except the angel, the angelic
Not too
encounters,
long ago.
like this.
Is this you ask a report that people saying that
He
accusing
did do
Muhammad?
this, yes. Yeah,
Okay,
he
so I
did
gave you the
copy from
Quran
other
of
sources.
9 verses in the Quran. Is that a
None of
report?
them none of them are reports that he did pull from previous. None of them. Not
None
one
of
of
one
them.
are reports. What are you talking about? I don't understand.
Okay, remember the precedent of the Quran. This is the words of Allah revealed directly to the Prophet. It's going to include information about everything that ever was, depending on what Allah chooses to reveal. So all of the stories of the Prophet, all of the stories, all of the events and miracles that the Quran talks about, the reason why it's talked about is because these things did happen or they're corrected by Allah. Yes. And they're stated because Allah is a witness of all things because He knows all things and He was there.
Yes, but
That
we know.
explains why these
Okay,
stories are here, dude.
okay. Uh,
Okay?
no, no. Okay, so but you didn't listen to what I said. So there was a text called the Romans, the Alexander Romans, who was
Assalamu
from
alaikum,
this,
Islam way.
who was in the 1st century, and it gives exactly the story that we find in the Quran. Okay, you say this is not Alexander, and yet the Alexander Romans gives exactly the story that we find in the Quran. So that was Alexander. You understand? You understand why this was in the Quran makes a reference of Alexander the Great, reaching to a place with a wall, meeting some people, the Gog and Magog. Okay, this story is found in the 1st century from Alexander Romans. So that is not even scripture. That is stories about Alexander, and you find it in the Quran like it's a prophet of Islam. And so, do you see the problem? And that is just one. I can give you like another 7. This type of thing. For example, the infancy gospel of Thomas is found in the Quran. These stories, which are not canonical, they are just
Is it
stories.
found is it found exactly?
Yes,
Identically?
not
Can
not
you show me?
identical, not identically, but
Okay,
you
so it's
can
not copied, is it?
no, you can recognize from the context that the Quran is taking from this story. The seven sleepers, for example, the seven sleepers.
Why do you keep going? You keep bouncing around.
I'm
You
Oh
you
my God,
have
I
to.
actually have like a whole entire documents, like a whole entire like slideshow of like how the Seven Sleepers is a myth or legend. I got sent by, let me see. It was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's interesting because it's not like it's not a myth or a legend. It refers to a Christian
Yeah, yeah.
community.
When I was
Right.
Christian and when I was looking into this, the Seven Sleepers, I always thought this was a myth or legend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's actually crazy because there are reports that there was a group of Christians that were lost. And remember, this event is divine. It's
And
a
by the way, it
miraculous
didn't even
event.
say the group though, like how many. So
It
it's
does, yeah,
stupid.
it doesn't mention a specific name, but it
Um,
does refer to like they
Let
were
me send
Christians.
it to both you guys. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I already know like the case they bring. This is not an issue because what makes the Gospel of Thomas, where it's talking about the infancy, speaking in the infancy, what makes that false? What makes that
okay.
story false just because it's not in the canon?
Yes, but even the story is not in the canon for a very specific reason because it's
Oh my
obvious
God.
fabrications.
I'm respectfully gonna mute you. I can't listen to them anymore.
It's fine.
So, guys, this lady left Christianity for Islam because she read the story of the seven sleepers, and she has it on her. Okay, and she want to show it to the Muslims. And yet, in Islam, now I just told her that the same story is also in Islam, and it's a fabrication from the Bible. Yeah, and now she would don't. Now she's starting to understand what's happening.
No, so that's not why the church didn't canonize it. They didn't canonize it because it's not something they knew of. This has nothing to do with their theology, has nothing to do with their tradition, and this wasn't documented in their tradition because their tradition is not from the very beginning. All of Christian tradition comes from reciting from memory.
Okay.
Okay?
How? Okay. So yes, but if you read the story, because I've read the story, it makes Jesus do some. He's like a crazy super villain. For
I
example,
know that's the Quran doesn't say okay, dude. The story about him speaking in the cradle, yes, this is alluded to in the Gospels. Why do you think that the saints, why do you think that the Jews, the Pharisees, the rabbis were shocked when he was a child at what he could do? Why do you think they were shocked?
do you seriously think that Jesus just got annoyed by another kid
Salam alaikum, bang.
that was making mad pools? Okay, so it was in this
Oh, hi,
story.
Bing.
I might throw you to the shark, man. I might throw you to Bang. You could talk with him. He's better than me.
No, Bing, please mute him. So annoying.
Yeah, I just joined, bro.
Salam alaikum, akhi.
So, bro.
It's a servant, by the way. This
Oh,
Socrates
why you
guy.
saying that like I can't tell from the voice, bro?
Bro, come on. I know you can't tell from my voice, bro. My voice changes every day. Come on. No, but
No, it
Are
does
this
you
not.
are you like are you going through puberty or something? Like why does your voice change?
I'm going through I'm in Tanner stage 12.
Identity crisis.
I yeah. I'm trying to change my identity. I'm identifying as something new, so I have to fit the role.
Oh
I
no,
see.
there's no point talking to Socrates. He's not really an honest person, bro. From my experience.
He's not. I just. He's saying the prophet plagiarized all these stories. I'm like, give me one report in all of Arabia during his ministry that report that he had any influence from any source, using any source,
And I gave
anything.
you 9 Quranic verses of reports.
That's not an external report, dude. Anything,
What
because
are you
remember,
doing?
you're
So
critiquing the
Are
Quran.
you just making the assumption that similarity entails common source?
yes,
Okay, why would you accept that assumption?
because it's logical and straightforward.
It's
So,
logical even with the absence of evidence.
but this is the evidence. So let me give you an example, sir.
No, that it's not no. Similarity by itself is not evidence. I can
Yes,
say
it's exactly
similarity.
evidence.
I can say, okay, why is it more evidence over the assumption that saying similarity is evidence of common, what is it called? Not common source, but common origins.
Guys, I don't want you to put you in a bad spot because maybe that subject you don't know. It's
I
you
just
maybe
asked you a
okay.
question.
So
Can you
okay,
address it? Can you address the question?
yes, because that is the definition of evidence. So if you see a text and
I don't know. It's not a definition of evidence.
yes,
There's no such thing as definition of. You are assuming that this is a type of evidence. I don't accept that as type of evidence, especially when there's a
okay.
lack
So let
of
me give you the evidence
external
in order to tell me if you accept
corresponding.
them or not.
No, that you do. Your evidence is that it's a there's similarity, right? I don't
Yes,
accept that. I don't accept that.
yes, but let me give you the
I
you will
take that
accept
of
that, sir, if
evidence
you
as
hear the
evidence of
evidence.
a common origin, not a common historical source.
Okay, so let me give you what kind of evidence I'm referring to. So
Dude, you're just gonna bring
in the
similar verses to it
Alexander's
in the Bible or
Romance,
some shit, bro. Oh my god. Okay, well, go ahead. You just waste time.
okay, so in the Alexander Romance, there is a story of Alexander doing certain things, like going to the end of the world, finding a
Oh
tribe.
my God.
They had a wall. Okay, so these details are repeated in the Quran. So it cannot be a coincidence. I just happen to have the same story. These similarities is proof is very strong evidence. I will say conclusive
Go.
that the Quran took the story from the Alexander's Romance.
Okay, go ahead. What's the most recent date on where the story exists in
Third
manuscripts?
century. Even
13?
some say first century, and then again third century. It,
4th century.
no, first
Okay, go ahead.
century,
Yeah,
and then
I
even
know
third
1st century.
century.
Okay, cool. Show me the sources on that.
Okay, so
All right.
Alexander Roman.
Hey, sir, I'm probably gonna go to bed right now.
No, this is a good conversation. No, but Bang,
Yeah.
he's
Because
claimed like
I heard
30
this
things.
before, by the way. I heard this
Yeah.
before. So it's not.
Real quick, Socrates, you realize you've claimed 100 different things and you're using Google as your evidence? You know this, right?
Yeah, but we can.
You, you're
Okay.
typing in the background with every claim you
Socrates,
make.
hey, Socrates is cool people, bro. Socrates is cool people. Give him some grace.
He is, but he's lacking in a lot of
He's slow.
areas.
Just give it to
Yeah,
he's slow.
yeah.
Okay, so this is what he says here.
I'll see you
Maybe
though, Bushak. Take care, bro.
Later.
the Alexander Romance is not a single book, but a collection of legendary stories.
That's not what I asked, by the way.
Yes.
Can you provide the source?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the date, 323 BCE, Alexander
That's not what I
dies.
asked. That's not I asked either. Ask for the
Third
source.
and first century BCE, legends about Alexander.
That's not what I asked either.
Okay, what are you asking?
I asked for just give me a link source. Give me something I can tangibly verify. Thank you.
So, the Alexander survived in many manuscripts and versions. The original text does not survive, so scholars reconstruct its history from later copies and translations. Okay, but the later copies are the first century copy doesn't survive, but the historians can recreate the first copy. So, Greek Alexander Romance Pseudo-Callisthenes. Language Greek. Date of composition usually dated to the late 3rd century, 250 to 300 CE. Author anonymous. Traditionally called Pseudo-Callisthenes because it was falsely attributed to Callisthenes, Alexander's court historian. Latin translations. Date 4th century.
Dude, I promise you, Socrates, I promise you, I'm not gonna listen if you don't actually if you're not reading exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
In the link, I'm not gonna entertain it. Or
What?
at least give me this actual
So
scan
let
of
me
a book
put you
or
in the
something.
link what I read. Okay, so
Okay.
you know how
Make sure
many
to delete
how many
the
sources
equal,
there are.
Wait, make sure to delete the equal ChatGPT at the end of the link. Go ahead.
Okay, so now look the sources. Even Arabic versions, Persian, Ethiopian, Syriac, Armenian, Latin, Greek.
Well, I'm not taking this seriously, bro. I'm not taking this seriously, bro. I think that's not how it works, right? When you are provided a source, at least by ChatGPT, because I'm gonna be charitable with you, fine, you can use ChatGPT, right? When it gives you a source, you look and dig up that source in its original form, whether it's a book, whether it's like a manuscript scan in a book, whether it's a website article, you dig up the actual source. You don't rely on ChatGPT text. This is embarrassing. That's not how you make any academic discussion happen.
So you don't believe these
Okay?
sources that I'm giving you right now?
I'm not gonna take them seriously. They could be true, but you have to like show me that they're actually true.
Okay, so what do you want? A photograph of the actual ancient document?
Well, maybe since this is such a banger argument that you have and it's so cool, right? How about you actually take the time to put it in a note where you put the scans
I
and
did
the
that
manuscript
once for a
evidence?
video. I have seen
Oh,
the actual.
okay, cool. So then do that for me.
He is Avdol. He's a Karaite. He left. Okay, whatever. Hello,
Right.
Avdol.
Give me
Hey, somebody
give me
mute this Jew.
give me the original source.
I have seen the original text. One time I was making a video about this subject, and I went on and I see the act. I even saw a photograph of the text, of
We
the
don't
ancient
care.
text. You believe me what I'm saying now? In
No, I
my
don't believe
channel, there is a video where there is the photograph of the actual ancient text of what I'm saying.
Okay.
Dude, why would we believe a random guy on Discord? You're supposed to give sources, concrete links, okay, concrete references.
If you're appealing to any primary source, provide that. Don't provide anything else.
Bro, like
Okay?
he doesn't
Wait,
the amount of
Avdol.
times you can ask ChatGPT for something. It
Bang,
will
you cut
literally
out.
make up the source.
How you doing,
Wait,
man?
Avdol.
I said he doesn't understand how many times you can look up for a source or something, and it literally makes up the source.
Just repeat
It makes
that.
up the text.
So let me tell you now a story related to this. Do you know
No,
someone?
I don't care. No, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah,
No,
you shouldn't hear the story because it will break
I don't
your
want to hear the
faith.
story because what you're supposed to do is provide the source. Thank you.
This guy is full of stories.
Like, do you really think you're gonna like walk in here and say, "Hey, I have an argument," and then just expect us to accept the source, what you claim the source is?
No, I gave you the sources. You can Google and you can.
No, you
find
didn't
it.
give me the source. You gave me a claim. You gave me a claim of what the
So
source.
you want the photograph,
would
in
be.
other words? Okay, so.
Yes, I
Give
want a
me-
photograph. Yes, thank you.
Give
Yes,
me
exactly.
He said he gave you a source and you can Google it.
the ancient.
Like that, dude, ChatGPT is not a source. That's like embarrassing, bro. Like, imagine
If
you
you
make a
gave-
thesis.
Bro.
Imagine you make a thesis or like a paper in like uni or academia, right? And then you just say, well, the source in the footnotes is what ChatGPT gave me, and I'm not gonna look further than this. Like, that's embarrassing, bro.
Okay.
If you give him a source, he
okay,
doesn't need
so
to look anything up.
here are the actual pictures of the ancient books.
I'm not asking for a book picture. I'm
Well,
asking for an
watch it
actual
be
reference.
like.
Do you okay, do you know what a primary source reference is? I want the reference. I want the actual text.
I
that
gave you the
quoting.
reference, and now I even gave you the photographs of the actual books.
Yeah, you're supposed to
Aw, it
link.
has colors. It's color coded. Aw.
So
Yeah,
wait,
post
so
the
you
link,
see,
post the link.
hold on, yeah, literally, it's called this shit cannot be like in the first century, bro.
This is like
I'm
eight. This
sorry.
is like
This
a
shit cannot be in
printing
the first
press.
century.
Literally, this is like freaking 1900s, 1800s.
This cannot be in the first or the third century. Okay, and it literally even says that. It literally says that. It says not the original third century text, but later manuscript copies of the tradition.
Yeah, fourth
I'm
century.
gonna freaking.
Okay,
But
so-
you're pissing me off.
That's
actually.
funny.
This might be one of the first rage baits that were coming.
Okay,
in,
so
like,
let me ask. Okay, so the original text, listen, it was in the first century, but this was lost. But the others from the third century, we have and fourth century.
Okay, do you have sources of pre-6th century sources that are references we can look at in text form?
Australian.
Because I can show you how many shitty arguments claim that the Quran plagiarized from
Plagiarized, yeah.
previous texts. Yeah, plagiarized from previous texts, but we can just find out that they actually come after Islam, and there's no evidence of it existing prior to Islam, right? It would just exist in a form of tradition that is vague. It doesn't mention the specific details the Quran is mentioning, and these specific details come after the 7th century.
He mentioned with the Quran, speaking about Isa alayhi salam and speaking in the cradle, he says that the reason why it's false, the Gospel of Thomas is false, because it's not canonical. Why are you appealing and qualifying Christian tradition when they disqualify it as canon and saying that that's what you're using to measure it against the Quranic claim?
Okay, so let me explain.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so
the problem.
there is a reason why they consider this non-canonical. So
Honestly,
if you
that's
read
kind of like
the
that's
stories,
kind of giving them a chance to
Don't
run
go back
away.
to that. Don't go back. That's just a
Like, yeah,
side thing for you
so
because
you
that's what
ask
you're
a
doing.
question.
Bank,
You
I'm
want the
gonna go to
answer?
sleep, okay?
all
Okay,
right.
so now
Yeah.
Assalamu
it's
alaikum,
becoming
brother.
annoying.
Take care.
So
Night.
maybe I
Take
should
care.
go. Okay, but if you wanted to respond to what you said, there is a reason why they consider that non-canonical. If you read the text, you will also consider that non-canonical because the story presents Jesus like an evil villain. Do you think Jesus is an evil villain?
Okay, this is
No,
a side. Like,
uh,
Socrates, like, do you have anything else to say? Because I don't want to waste my time, bro. Like,
Okay.
do you actually have something? Because I can't take you seriously after this, bro. Serious, like, I'm serious.
Okay. Now, okay, guys. Okay. Have a nice day. Bye, bye.
So you just give up? You're not gonna provide the source?
Give up? What? What? I don't know what you want me to do. I gave you the
I
references.
genuinely, no, 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 no. Okay, okay. When I say reference, I'm not talking about the general claim of the book or like the manuscript. I'm talking, show me the actual text that the Quran you're saying is copying from, right? The specific
I
part of the
gave you.
story.
I.
Take that text that is verified to be the same text, not like the tradition, right? The same text, not like the fucking picture you sent with colors on it. The book
Okay.
with that was as colored
a
because
coloring book.
Will you let guys
because
now?
colors like this
Okay, so
colors like this
guys,
didn't exist in the
one moment.
1/3 century.
Okay, guys. So the reason why I remember this stuff is once I made a video about it was a jihadi, a very known Australian jihadi that he was
Don't tell me the
very
video.
okay. So let me tell
Okay,
you the
old
story to understand
McDonald's
what's
had a
happened.
farm. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, and he went to prison. He was like a very known Hizbut Tahrir person. I mean now he was like Daniel Hakikatsu. Imagine this type of person. Okay, he went to prison and in order for him to investigate the Quran by himself, the Romans, the Alexander Romans claim by himself, he went and learned Syriac. He actually learned Syriac in their prison in order for no one else to tell him this information other than himself reading the text. He read the text in Syriac and he left Islam. When I was making the video, I made the research and I actually saw in photographs the actual ancient because also I wanted to be sure. Okay. And I actually saw in photographs the actual text and I read exactly in the ancient language the texts. So now you can believe that if you like. If you don't like, you cannot believe that. Okay, his name. What was his name of this guy? This is what I'm trying to find his name. Uh, uh, no, I have it in my channel. I can find it from there. Wait,
Not gonna lie, bro. I learned a lot about you, Socrates. That the reason why you hold your belief as an atheist. Like I know it now. I know why.
I'm gonna head out, guys.
Yalla
You,
habibi.
listen, take care, bro.
Walaikum salam.
Socrates, bro. I'm just gonna put a note on you. I'm gonna put a note on you, bro. Next time I talk to you, I can't take you seriously. Sorry. But you take care, though. Bye bye.
Yalla habibi. He's even put a note on you. You got a little footnote on your profile. Bro. Uh,
okay, guys. So if you notice, they cannot refute what I said, and this is the end of Islam. So whoever watches now. So what I was telling them is the truth. I did that once, and now I will give you the video I'm referring to. Oh no, here we are. Look, guys. Okay, here we are. Okay, guys. That is my channel. You should all subscribe because I have spent it countless hours. I have refuted everything that exists in this world. Everything. I don't have a communication skill, and especially in the old videos, I sound like a Greek, But make no mistake, I have refuted everything. Not just refuted. Refuted is an understatement. I open a grave because I have a philosophical quality. Okay, I'm not intelligent, but I have a charisma from my father that in some issues, in these issues, my brain works like a scanner. Instead, I defeat ChatGPT in these issues. I'm faster than ChatGPT. I ask. One time I was debating ChatGPT and I was faster in responding to ChatGPT. I have a charisma in this specific thing. So I have refuted everything. Look here, guys. Look, everything. But I'm trying to find now a specific, if I find it. I went too far back. Seradonio. This guy name was Seradonio. Okay, περίμενε. Seradonio. Don't tell me I don't have them. Musa, this guy name was Musa Serantonio. I remember now this guy. Musa Serantonio. It was this guy. This guy was, let me now show you how radical was this guy. Guy was more radical than Daniel Hakikatsu. Okay, so let me give you Serantonio. Look about what.
Dear brothers and sisters, as we're sitting here today, in this gathering, which I ask Allah the Almighty to bless, there is another gathering taking part on the other side of the world. The nations are gathering. The UN, the EU, the AU, the USA, they are gathering to discuss how they are going to attack the land of Mali. They are discussing how they are going to attack our brothers, who, may Allah bless them and protect them, have been able to
the law of mankind in Algeria, Palestine. Hamas tried to use democracy. They won the elections, and ask me to them. And subhanAllah, how true is the word of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This small band of believers who were only in Medina at that time.
Of the disbelievers, as we know where the Prophet, peace be upon him, is ordered to say, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ, say, oh you disbelievers.
What does coffee have to do with this? I want to ask, I'm pretty sure most of us have had a coffee before. Sometimes we can't actually survive without coffee. Some people first thing in the morning, they must have a coffee. Now when we think of coffee, what do we think of? If I were to say, for example, pizza, what would you think of? Which country would you think of? Italy. One's appetite. They say it like v. Finds all of your things. And then from the name kava, it turned into kafa.
Okay, anyway, so this is an actual jihadi. Okay, I at those days, guys, because I couldn't sleep, I was, in the bed, in the couch, and I was listening to these guys hours upon hours. I have listened to this moron 100 hours. You say I'm crazy? Not 100, let's say 30 hours all his videos. So I have seen. So when David Wood made a video about him, I already knew him. I have listened to him like 30, 40 hours. Okay, so the same time David Wood was making a video, David Wood didn't know this guy. He learned about him when he left Islam. His story. I already knew him. So the same time David Wood was making this his video about him, I was also making a video. And the story of let's go to David Wood. David Wood. Nah. Why? Look.
When an ISIS jihadi renounces Islam and calls the Quran a book of fables, you should listen. Robert Sarantonio was born in Australia in 1985. His family was nominally Catholic, but Sarantonio converted to Islam when he was 17 years old. He changed his name to Musa and became the president of the Islamic Society at Victoria University. Naturally, he was soon being paraded around the world for being a Western convert to Islam.
And subhanAllah, he had a massive library of books, and I began to read through one which was about the miracles of the Quran. And as soon as I had started reading this, like I was glued, I could not stop reading it. And by the time I had finished, what I knew about Islam was the halal, the haram, this and that, the stories of the prophets. But reading about this was showing, Allah is saying, this book that I have could be from nobody but Allah. And as soon as I had...
Sarantonio is one of those guys who learns languages quickly, so he became popular as a translator. He was hired to present shows for the Iqra TV network, but he was eventually fired for being too radical. I wonder where he got his radical ideas. One of life's great mysteries. At the time of his arrest for an ISIS plot to travel to the southern Philippines, overthrow the provincial government, and establish Sharia, Sarantonio was one of the most influential jihadi preachers in the world. Now he's an atheist, and it doesn't look like he's putting on a show because he's convincing other Muslims to leave Islam by exposing errors in the Quran in prison. There are a lot of things we could discuss about Sarantonio, but here I just want to take a quick look at one of the problems that started bothering him about the Quran. This is from an article titled, "Why an ISIS Propagandist Abandoned Islam," from The Atlantic. The link is in the description box. We'll pick up the story after Sarantonio's conviction. In prison, he began to study the Quran in greater detail and focused on the aspects that most puzzled him. Among these was the figure called Dhul Qarnayn, the two-horned one, who appears in the Quran's 18th chapter and is believed by many to refer to Alexander the Great. Sarantonio did not see a resemblance between Dhul Qarnayn and the Alexander of history, but he noted similarities between Dhul Qarnayn and a heavily fabulized version of Alexander's story written in Aramaic. He considered that the Aramaic version may have plagiarized the Quran, but after acquiring a copy of the Aramaic and translating it for himself, he determined that the reverse was more likely. I always knew that being proficient in Aramaic would one day prove useful. If you ask Muslims today about Dhul Qarnayn, they'll usually insist that it's not Alexander the Great. They say this because Dhul Qarnayn, according to the Quran, was a devout Muslim, while Alexander the Great was as pagan as you can possibly be. So, to get around an obvious Quran blunder, Muslims claim that Dhul Qarnayn is actually someone else, not Alexander. But this response only works if you're not at all familiar with the legends about Alexander that were circulating in the Middle East during the 7th century. Except for the part about being a Muslim, Dhul Qarnayn in the Quran sounds exactly like Alexander the Great in the popular legends of the 7th century, and he doesn't sound like anyone else ever. So when Muslims tell us that Dhul Qarnayn isn't supposed to be Alexander, they're just denying the obvious. Imagine if Muhammad were delivering revelations today in our time. He comes out and says, "I just received a revelation from Allah. It's a revelation about the man of the red coat. The red-coated one hath a white beard, and lo, he is jolly, and lo, he is a Muslim. He saith unto the elves that maketh the toys, Behold, Christmas is nigh. Finish the toys so I can climb into my sleigh and deliver them to the children around the world. I know if they've been naughty or nice. Bring me Rudolph, ho, ho, ho. Anyone hearing that would immediately think, hey, wait a minute, that's Santa Claus. The story of Santa Claus was originally based on a real person, but now it's just a bunch of silly stories. The real person wasn't a Muslim, he was a Christian bishop. This can't be a revelation from God.
Okay, exactly. Okay, so in my video, okay, so what I did is, okay, so wait just a moment. This was my problem. Okay, I hear claims that the Alexander's Romans said that in the 3rd century or the 4th century, in the 1st century. But those are still claims. Okay. And then I went, okay, let's find the actual sources, the original sources. And I went in, guys, and I made the research, and I actually found the original sources. And I read. So now look, why this cannot be a coincidence? Because in these stories, the two horned men, the Alexander the Great, okay, Muslims can say the two horned men is not Alexander the Great. But wait, why also the rest of the story is exactly like the Romans of Alexander? Like what David Wood is describing. Yes, okay, you can say Santa Claus is not really Santa Claus, but why this person have elves, he's with a deer and jumps through the, what you call that, and he delivers toys to the children, if it's not Santa Claus, you see? Okay, so now let's try to find my video, because at some point YouTube was taking down my video, so maybe this one of it deleted, I don't know. Socrates Son. Yeah, I cannot find it. That is a pity. Yeah, why though? Okay, so anyway, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened to my video. That's a pity because I spent hours making this video. Anyway, so look now how radicalized was this person.
For this ummah, as Allah says, إِن يَنْصُرْكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. If Allah should assist you, then verily there is none that can defeat you. But Allah lays the condition for the believers. It's not so much as if we can just say, I am a Muslim and I believe in the Sunnah. To not sway from the way of the pious believers. When we hold fast to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we unite our ranks.
Okay, so if a person as radicalized as this guy becomes an atheist when seeing this evidence, are this evidence strong? We don't know. Okay, thank you very much.